I don't want to. I'm scared of what you do to me.
So, you want to explain yourself behind this real elaborate opening there, sir?
We had to begin with a bit of regression.
Oh,
Because
yeah?
we are speaking of, we're going to talk about today the album.
I know this one.
Scenes Metropolis Part 2! And there's a house I'm drawn to.
Actually, it's Scenes from a Memory, it's called.
Is it? I thought it was Scenes from Metropolis.
No, Scenes from a Memory is the live tour that they're doing now. Stupid.
No, that's Distance Over Time.
I.
Anyway, you know the album we're talking about. It's in the fucking thumbnail. Arguably one of Dreamtheater's best albums.
It is.
And maybe even one of the best albums of all time.
Well, bold claim.
Reason why I played that is because Regression is the only song I can play off that album.
That makes sense.
You know, other than...
Show off.
Beginning of... Well, not really. Come on.
But you want to show up with Dreamtheater, like, you really
That's-
gotta be good.
You were really resistant to Dreamtheater at the start. When I first told Aaron, I said, hey, Dreamtheater's coming to Melbourne, would you want to see them? And he was like, yeah, I don't know.
Dreamtheater is like a really hot girl at the club that you think's way out of your league, and you think maybe one day it'd be nice to appreciate her beauty, but...
Well, it's kind of like you said, it's a musician's band. So
they're so technical, and like, you know, growing up, my impression of Dreamtheater was like, you used to tell me you'd be like, oh, the band would come out, they do these super long sections, and the singer, James LeBrie, would just be fucking about on the bicycle, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's not really like the everyman's band, you know, you kind of gotta be into the instruments.
I think Dreamtheater is a band that they are progressive rock.
Yeah, if you wanted
They
a band
define
to...
progressive rock.
Yeah, to summarize what progressive rock was, I'd say it's them.
But where Dreamtheater are different from many other bands, and especially on, you know, Scenes from a Memory album, is that they are so melodic. I think
Musical, you know, they're so, you know, one thing I loved about it, which was trying to get into music, was like the importance of an album. And I think we touched on this in the previous Slow Work thing, but all the more with Scenes of a Memory.
Scenes from a Memory.
Scenes from a Memory Part 2, was that this whole album was like one giant experience, one giant song, you know? It kind of reminded me of like musicals back in the day. You got Overture, you got like Interlude.
It is basically a musical. I mean,
But not gay.
no, but it's really.
Ain't nothing gay about getting your dick sucked.
That makes it amazing that you like it, but
Well, you know, I like musicals of all kinds, alright?
I think it's one of my favorite albums of all time, Scenes from a Memory. And now it is yours too.
It was the first album that hooked me onto Dreamtheater because I was so intimidated by them, and in the past I'd heard things like Dance of Eternity because this guy would be like, hey man, check out these freaks, and they play Dance of Eternity, and I'm like, what the fuck? There's no reference point.
But you didn't know that they also had If I die tomorrow, I'll be alright.
You know, and that's the great
Right, because I believe
Dreamtheater don't do this.
after we're gone.
Spirit carries on. Well, you know what? That was the great. It was so, because obviously, like, I heard Regression because you were like, wow, you know, check this out, it's pretty cool. And I was like, wow, this is very cool. But it was one of those things where Dreamtheater in my mind was always just this like technical. You'd be like, oh, Michelangelo Barrio, you know, super technical guitar, man. But these guys were like, when you actually sit and listen to Dreamtheater, and specifically this album, you get a sense that these guys are just like, they're artists, they're musicians. They understand songwriting as much as their technical ability.
They found a way to do really intelligent music, but still make it very palatable.
Dare I say, they're kind of like the Christopher Nolan of music.
I think that's a great example. I mean, you know this one. Right? And like what a chord, you know. It's so discordant but still somehow musical.
Well, they've just been so good at finding ways as well, I find, with every single member, where any song they do, you know, there's certain songs where you can go like, oh, that's a pretty, you know, straightforward, like, riff or straightforward way to play it, but they'll find a way. Like Portnoy with the drums, he'll find a way to inject a little something. John Mayung with his bass playing will use the bass in ways that I'm like, this bass, brother! You can do that one on bass!
Look, the album's like around a bit over 20 years old now. I heard it when it first came out. And even today, listening to it, I'm still getting something new and still learning from it.
You can still enjoy it upon several, re-listens.
Yeah, it never gets old.
And no, I swear my God, brother, like, there's something about, I can say with utmost certainty at this point in time, I've listened to that whole album over 20 times. Like, just like, I'm on the bus in my headphones, I'm in the car through the speakers. You don't get bored of it. It's, you can't say that about a lot of albums.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say like it's a gateway band into progressive music, but
Dreamtheater
is the gateway and it's also the be all end all.
Oh yeah, but you kind of need a little bit of foundation, I find, stepping in a Dreamtheater.
So in summary, out of a rating of 5,
ooh, this album. You know what? This is probably one of those rare occasions.
it's a perfect 5.
5! Gorgeous! Yeah.
It's perfect. Like same thing with Soulwork. Like when I said I gave him 4.5 or 4, whatever.
You
I gave
said
him.
4, I said 4.5,
But since from my memory, what can you say about it? It's perfect.
You know what's funny? Because with Soulwork, I said you kind of have to be in a little bit of the mood for it. Dreamtheater puts you in the mood for it. It's like roofies. Doesn't matter whether you're in it or not. You have it, and then, oh brother, I'm partying now.
So we're gonna play ourselves out with a bit of regression, and we'll cut it off before YouTube blocks us.
Safe in the light that surrounds me, free of the fear and the pain. A subconscious mind starts spinning through time to rejoin the
We'll cut it before then.